makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In today's episode, I will be having a conversation with Robbin Jorgensen, the founder and CEO of Women Uniting Change. This global organization empowers women to create social impact for a better world. Robbin is also a human rights champion, a female change agent, and the US ambassador for Avega, Agahozo, and Rwanda. Join me as I explore her inspiring journey and discover how she challenges the norms and creates change. Good morning, Robbin. You are the founder and CEO of Women Uniting Change and working towards empowering women, which is something that I'm, how do I say that, a big fan of? So from being a corporate executive to starting your own business, can you tell us about your journey to starting your own?
Yeah, happy to. When I was still inside corporate America, it felt like the higher I climbed that corporate ladder, the more of me I lost. And I literally could feel that. And my friends noticed it, my family noticed it. And someone said to me, why don't you hire a coach? So I hired an executive coach when I was still in corporate America. And working with her was so transformative. I worked with her for a year. And at the end of that year, I looked at her and I'm like, okay, you do this for a living and you get paid what I get paid to do this for a living. How did you do that? And that really kind of started me down the journey of researching different coaching institutions. And I landed on the Coaches Training Institute, which at the time, before the pandemic, was all in-person training. And from the first day that I walked in, I'm like, I'm home. And I knew there was something in this vein that I was meant to do. And every time I went back to my office, I'm like, this doesn't fit anymore. So that was part of the journey. And the other thing that I noticed as I was going through my own coaching journey as a client was that the women around me and the women leaders around me, their spark was gone too. And you could see it. Like there was no life. They were just kind of going through the motions, mundane day to day. And I didn't want that for them either, because I had found my own spark back again, and I wanted that for other women. So long story short, after I went through coach training, I then went through CTI's year-long leadership program, which is 4 week-long retreats in Asheville, North Carolina, which, who doesn't love Asheville? Yes. And that program gave me back to me. I feel like I walked in as corporate Robbin and came out as me. It's the biggest gift I've ever given myself outside of my children. It was that transformative. And at the end of that, I really said, you know what? It's time to go do something new. So I took a huge leap of faith. I jumped off the cliff. I prayed the net was there. And it was on the way down. And I left corporate America in March of 2011, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, started my own company, Women Igniting Change, and just started going back in and serving women leaders. Serving who I used to be is how I say. I've had the privilege over the last almost 12 years to work with women in 14 countries on 6 continents,
yes.
Doing women's leadership programming and strategy. And I have loved that. And then in 2017, we added an extra piece to who we are at Women Igniting Change. So I've always had a passion and a heart for service and giving back. My mother instilled that in me. She's still the queen of volunteering in the county I'm from. But in 2017, I was delivering a workshop in Atlanta to some senior women at Bank of America. Small group of women, 20 women. And at one point in the workshop, I asked them what some of their goals and their dreams were, and they shared. And I just went to move on, and one of them stopped me and said, no, what's one of yours? Now, no one had ever asked me that before. And I literally blurted out, we would love to work with women in Rwanda. I have no idea where that came from. It just came out of my mouth.
Wow.
At the end of the workshop, another woman, remember 20 women, one of the other women who was a senior VP came up to me and said, I have a contact for you. Her executive MBA professor, Dr. Musanera, teaches at a university in Atlanta. She connected me with him. He's Rwandan. So this is now April of 2017. So he and I have this amazing conversation. And he brings a group of students over to Rwanda once a year called Mercer on Mission from Mercer University. And they work with this extraordinary group of women called the Vega Agahozo. And they are the widows of the genocide of 1994. And they teach them leadership, business, marketing skills. So he said to me, we're going over in June. You're welcome to join us. And I'm like, done. I'm so coming. But here was the challenge. They were leaving Atlanta on June 1st and going to Africa for 2 weeks like normal people. I had committed to a speaking engagement here in Albany, New York on June 7th, which of course I wanted to honor. And I'm like, okay, how do I do this? And everyone was like, Robbin, you can't just go to Africa for a couple of days. That's insane. But I knew I was being called to go. So I did. So we left on a Thursday night. We landed Friday night. It's a full 24 hours to get there. I was in the country Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days. I left Monday night. I flew straight up here to Albany, landed Tuesday night, and spoke Wednesday morning. That's how bad I knew I was meant to go. So that really expanded the social impact piece of what we do in the world. And then from there, we expanded into really helping women put social good into the world. Because I believe to my core that women hold the key to all societal transformation, period. We have business ideas, we have marketing ideas, we have product ideas that can revolutionize our communities, industries, or the world. It's up to us. So adding that social impact piece to Women Igniting Change, which really embodies the whole purpose of the name of the company to begin with, we really just started expanding that. And then in April of this past year, 2022, I came up with this idea to create a global changemakers community and really help women scale social impact around the globe. Because the only difference between you and I and women in the developing world or in the global south is that we won the geographic lottery. That's the true. Only distinction. They have the same dream, same hope, same talent, same skills, same everything that we do. And I wanted to provide a global community where we can empower women from around the world to have that societal transformation. So what we ended up doing was holding 7 or 8 focus groups. I literally put it out on LinkedIn and said, hey, here's this concept. We're going to put it out there into the world. We'd love your feedback. So I had the model created. And we had women from 17 countries and 12 U.S. states respond, which was amazing, exactly what I wanted. And we were 98% there. So they added a couple little tweaks just to add into it. And then, so we put it together and then we launched it in the fall. So our goal is twofold. One, to work with women who want to come into the community and their company's not paying for it. They're investing in themselves, but they want to be part of something bigger than themselves because that idea that they've had in their head for 5 years that they've done nothing with, that they know could make a massive impact and difference in the world, we want to help them get that out. And we've created a framework to do that. And then for women leaders inside organizations, we're working with companies to sponsor their women into this community. And we've created an entire ROI framework that shows how the skills they're using in this community tie back and benefit their organization while they're doing good and putting it out into the world.
So pretty much you work with the organization, companies, but also you can work one-on-one with individuals. Let's say, for example, I am the CEO of Apple and I reach out to you outside of Apple, say, hey, I need your help. 100%. That's something you can still do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now do you, I know you have the nonprofit organization. Do you use the profit company to donate to the nonprofit? How does that work or is it just a nonprofit strictly?
No. So Women Igniting Change is a for-profit organization. And the non-for-profit piece, I'm going back over to Rwanda in July. Thank God. I haven't been there in 2.5 years. It's killing me. I'm usually there 4 times a year. So not being there during the pandemic was just awful. But so the nonprofit, and let me back up a little bit from the original story. After we went over in 2017, I started going back in under my own brand and just started working with different women's groups and organizations, working with the Ministry of Gender, working with the Aquila Institute, which is the only all-women's college in Rwanda, and just starting to see what the needs were on the ground. And again, 3 to 4 times a year over those couple of years. And then one day when I'm back here in the US, I was standing in my bathroom putting on mascara, and I heard another voice that said, you need to build an economic empowerment center for women in Rwanda. And I just started to cry. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea how we're doing this, but let's go. So then in subsequent trips, I started conducting listening tours on the ground with women in Kigali, which is the capital, women in the rural areas, different organizations and groups, really understanding what the need was and would it be beneficial to have this economic empowerment center? Because the goal behind it was to have it be a center that had a gender transformative approach. Because I think there's so many organizations that have really well-meaning intentions, but they're really just putting a Band-Aid on the problem, and they're giving women more work to do versus solving the societal and cultural issues that are the reason for the economic disparity. So we wanted an organization that really addressed those challenges through a gender lens, where we include the men in the conversation as well. And here's the value of your women coming to this center. Here's the value to your family for women having agency and accountability over their own money. Like those kinds of conversations and really shifting the narrative as to what those underbelly issues were. So I was in Rwanda, February 28th of 2020, signing the MOU with the Ministry of Gender to build this center. And then I got back here on the 29th. It was a leap year, and then the world closed. So now it's a matter of going back over, and, you know, the needs are going to be different, you know, post-pandemic. So when we go over in July, really understanding, okay, what are the needs now? Is there still a need for this center, or has that shifted? And really, you know, starting from scratch, basically. We do have an international NGO on the ground, which is the nonprofit you're talking about, but it's been pretty dormant during the pandemic. So it's going back over and saying, okay, what are the needs now and how can we help?
How can you help?
Yeah.
So now when your services, do you provide them as a group, or is it also one-on-one or a mix of both?
Everything. So we do one-on-one coaching. We do, the group coaching is really around putting social impact out into the world. That is our Ignited Impact Accelerator program. It's a year-long program where we walk women through how to put social good out into the world, and it's a smaller cohort than the global community. And then we also go in and work with organizations on 3-month programs all the way up to year-long initiatives around women's leadership strategy.
I don't know where you find time to do it all.
I don't sleep a lot, Nagilia. No. Yeah. It's my why on this planet. Like it's why I'm here.
And that's what to make it successful.
It is. And it's, you know, I love what I do so much. I get to empower women every day and make a difference in the world and help them reconnect to the truth of who they are and do the same thing.
I wish I have a mirror right now so I can make you look at yourself to see the passion. It's coming out as you're speaking.
I get that a lot. Yeah, I get that a lot. I love what I do. Yeah. And I know it's why I'm here.
So now you have more than 2 decades of experience in sales and marketing, training and business development. Do you leverage that experience in running your organization as well?
Oh, God, daily. 100%. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's different. When I first left corporate America, when I left, I was a regional sales director in the Northeast. I had a large sales team. I had a management team that reported to me. And when I jumped ship, I really had the mentality like, okay, I ran a large P&L, like, I got this. I know how to run my own business. And I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I hired a business coach. I've never been without one, ever. But the sales pieces, it's very different selling someone else's product versus selling yourself or your own organization. And I think it's something you grow into. You know, those skills have served me over the nearly 12 years of Women Igniting Change. But the more you put yourself out there, the more confident you become in your own self and your own services. And again, once you connect to that deeper why, that pulls you through the fear because that why can't not happen. It has to happen. And that's all that matters.
I agree with you on that. When they my team said, "Oh, we have a lot of content. You need to start a podcast." I'm looking at everybody who's starting it. No. I'm doing that. I'm not going in camera. Absolutely not.
So right
you
now,
get used to that too. You get used to being
yes, I get used to it eventually. Yeah. For the first 10 ones, I was very like, but after that, I kind of, okay, I need to make this my own, be me who I am. This is me. It's not going to get any better than that. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. So again, you talk about CORA women's empowerment. So can we tell us a little bit more about it? So do you also reach out to other countries, or how exactly that work? Or do you just stay within the United States with it as of right now?
No. So I can tell you, so the original vision for the CORA Women's Center, and I have to tell you where CORA came from. So our logo, let me see, do this. So our logo is a woman enveloping the globe with a spark coming out of her hand. And the name CORA came from a conference that I went to with Sally Field, who was speaking. And she literally was walking around with a name tag that said Sally Field, like no one would know who she was. It was very cute. But she was giving this speech, and her hand was like this. And she said, it's kind of like this is the core of who you are. And then you have all of these layers on top: society, culture, friends, family. And she started doing this. And she said, it's almost like the core of who you are, like you can't breathe because all of these layers are on top of it and squashing it down. And I was sitting next to a friend of mine, and I just started to cry. And I'm like, okay, the logo's name, our logo, her name is CORA, which stands for the core of who you are. And that's where the name came from for the CORA Women's Center in Rwanda, because I want these women, just like here, to tap into the core of who they are, that truth, and get that out into the world. So that's where the name came from.
So now the center is just going to be like only overseas. It doesn't support anyone within the United States. And
it does not. So the original goal, and again, we've got to go back and see what the needs are now. The original goal was to start the CORA Women's Center in Rwanda, create a model for what that looks like through that gender transformative approach, and then scale that across the continent, ideally to all 54 countries. So this is, decades long goal that I would pass on to others because, doing this when you're 80. But that was the original goal. And now we'll see what the goal is. So I'm excited to see what elements are still the same that are needed, what elements might have shifted. We're a different organization today than we even were pre-pandemic. So leveraging all of that new stuff that we bring to the table too, and blending in what the needs are, and we'll see where it goes.
I'm not sure about the 80 part, but all I have to say is that you have about another 60 to go. I don't know why you have to put the 80 part of it, because I don't know. 60 is a long time. You can open like a lot of centers within 60 years.
Yeah.
So, you have won multiple awards for the fantastic work that you are doing. And I so much appreciate the work you are doing all over the world, supporting women. So what area of your work gives you the most satisfaction to keep you going?
What area? That is such a good question. The social impact piece. I mean, because here's the question that I ask women to really get them out of their own way. So the answer to your question is seeing women reconnect with that idea, because all of us look around in the world and there's so much injustice happening around us that we all have something where like that can no longer be, that has to stop. We all have that passion, and helping women tap into that and give them permission to voice the idea they have to change it and then show them how to do it. That's heaven on a stick. It's just amazing. So the question that I ask women to get them out of their own way is, if Warren Buffett took you to lunch and handed you $1 billion check and said, go change the world, what would you do with it? You can't spend any on yourself. What would you do with it? Because that gets the money conversation out of the way. Because especially as women, if we can't see the how and we can't see that there's money to do it, we automatically stop ourselves. When the truth is, when you lean in and trust and move toward what you know you're supposed to do, the how shows up. It does every single, this, it shows up every time. So when I ask that question, they're like, oh my God, I would do this and I would do this and I would do this. I'm like, okay, your why is sitting in there somewhere. We want to help you put that out into the world.
So now, Robbin, you are a big advocate for women. And
1000%.
God knows we've been to hell and come back and went back again and come back. Ups and downs. It's never end. So what do you see for women in the world? What do you see us?
Today or in the future?
In the future.
Immense hope and possibility. Immense hope and possibility. Because I know the vision that we have for this global changemakers community, and it truly is to build the largest global community of female changemakers in the world. That's the goal for this. And I know that the model is so incredible that when women come in globally, that ripple effect of putting that transformation and societal impact out into the world is going to be a game changer for the globe. So nothing but hope and possibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now, how important do you think it is for women to be self-sufficient for their overall well-being?
Oh, 1,000%. One of the advices that my mother gave me when I was younger is to be exactly that. Be self-sufficient, be in a relationship if you want to, but always be able to handle yourself on your own. Because I think, and that's not a developing world issue. That's a U.S. issue too. That's a Europe. That's a, Southeast Asia. That issue is everywhere. To be totally self-sufficient, have agency over your own income, your own money, how you spend that. And I think agency is a really key thing that all women need to have, because that's what gives you confidence in your own ability, confidence, permission to put yourself out there in that way. So it's key. It's absolutely key.
Okay. So we need that to keep on going.
We absolutely do. Yes, 100%. And, there's all, depending on where you are in the world, as I mentioned, there's a ton of societal and cultural issues that prevent that for a lot of women. And it's a delicate balance of honoring and respecting whatever country you're going into, and honoring those beliefs and changing them in such a way that it honors everybody, but still puts agency in the hands of women where they can go out and be with themselves.
I know that you CORA, you haven't launched that yet, right. But when you launch it, are you going to be looking for support in the United States?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we have a board of directors here that we needed in order to get our international NGO on the ground. So 1,000% we'll be looking for support from organizations here in the U.S. and around the world to make that happen.
To make it happen. So now with social impact, let me back up a little bit. How can someone help?
Well, they can join the community, and that's one. And so globalchangemakerscommunity.com, they can go to that website and join us. And then, one of the things that came up in the focus groups that we want to focus on probably the end of this year into 2024. If it's not something that you personally want to do, then sponsor another woman into the community. Because, one of the focus groups we had a woman from Tanzania and another one from Zimbabwe in the same focus group. They don't have the resources to join that community, but boy, we want their voices there. You know what I mean? We want their contribution. So sponsoring someone else into the community is another way that they can help as well.
So pretty much if they are not joining themselves, they can sponsor it for somebody else to come in and be a part of it. Yeah. I love that idea. That's a great idea. So now we know that Women's History Month is March, which is one of our biggest time. Which, don't get me wrong, as women, we should celebrate ourselves every single day. But as America decided to give us March as a month that we can do whatever we want, don't go kill someone. That's not a part of it, though. Just to celebrate each other. What advice would you give to women to transform their ideas into action and achieve success? So
this is actually one of my most favorite quotes on the planet, and I'm going to use this because it totally encompasses an answer for you. So it's a quote by Melinda Gates, who is one of my sheroes. And it's a quote that I close every speech that I give globally, every workshop that I give. This is how I end it. Trust yourself and trust your own voice. Women speaking up for themselves and for those around them is the strongest force we have to change the world.
I don't have anything to add to that.
But that's the answer. That is the answer.
Yes, that's the answer. So now one last question I have for you before I let you go. How can someone, a company or an individual, how can they get your services?
They can go to womenignitingchange.com to check us out. The Global Changemakers community is also one of the tabs on our website, or they can go directly to globalchangemakerscommunity.com to learn more how to join.
And can they also make a donation to your nonprofit?
They can't right now. We'll have to circle back on that. So right now it's in a dormant state. But once I get back over there and we re-engage with what the needs are, I would say in 2024, that's so bizarre to say. Yes.
Well, if you are listening to this in 2024, you know where to go to make a donation.
Yeah. And that information will be on Women Igniting Change too, but right now it's in a dormant state, so it's different.
That sounds good. So anything else you'd like to share with us before I let you go?
I don't think so. I think that quote says it all.
Thank you so much, Robbin, for supporting women, for dedicating your life to support us. We appreciate it. And if we don't say that to you all the time, we appreciate it. And please keep on moving forward for us, because we need women like you to just keep paving the path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.